everyone, welcome to Living Linkie Style. My name is Linkie, and guys, let me tell you, we've had a brutal winter. I've got my coffee here while it's snowing outside, but you know the good news is that spring is around the corner, and so is baseball season. So you know what, I thought, what's more fun than having a couple of man cave recipes? Ladies, if you're out there, sometimes your men want to watch the baseball game, sometimes you want to watch it with them, and you need some snack food, some good food that's going to just say comfort, fast, easy. Well, that's what I'm doing today. So we're going to do a chili cheese dip. That's very easy. We're going to do it in a cast iron skillet. The best thing about this recipe is you can actually do it on the grill outside as well. So if you're having a party, a tailgating party or whatever, you can absolutely put it in a cast iron skillet, do it on the grill. And we're also going to do a salmon slider. And once again, this thing is great because you can cook it on a wooden plank on the grill. So you just soak your wooden planks, pop it on your grill. I'd love to do this on my Big Green Egg at home. And but we're going to do it in the kitchen today. So let's get started. Let me take one more sip of coffee. Perfect. All right, so for the chili cheese dip, you are going to need some ground beef, and this is about 1.2 pounds. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn my eye on and let that get nice and heated up. And while that's heating up, I'm just going to pop a few drops of olive oil in there. Now, I got the lean kind. If you want more fatty kind, I think this one is 96% lean, just because we have to cut down somewhere. We're going to put all that cheese in there. But then we're going to take this and we're going to brown this in the cast iron skillet along with some onions and garlic. So just discard this one. There we go. And I'm just going to rough chop. You know, you don't have to worry about too much about your onions. If you want to do them in cubes, you can do them in cubes too. And what I sometimes do is I brown my onions first, then take them out, and then pop them back in there when my beef is browned. But I'm going to go ahead and brown my beef first, and then just pop the onions in there because all of that's going to have to cook together anyways. So what I usually try to do, let me bring this back over here, I just kind of shred my little beef. That way it makes it easier, to break it up. And if you can buy some fresh ground beef at the store, it just makes it so much easier to shred it. Of course, my husband and I love to shred our own or grind up our own beef at home. We make our own sausage sometime, and this whole countertop is full of beef and all kinds of goodies. Okay, so you have your ground beef in there. We're also going to add a little bit of salt. About a teaspoon or so of salt, and some pepper. And we're just going to let that start heating up and start browning. Then we're going to add our onions. We're also going to add some of these beans, some black beans, some kidney beans. We're going to add some roasted tomatoes and some corn. And then we're going to top all of that off with some cheese. Now, what I have for my cheese in mind, I'm going to do some 1 ounce of cream cheese that we're going to pop in the microwave for just a few seconds. If you want, you can add like maybe just a hint of butter or so. Maybe we'll do that. Of course, you guys know me by now. I love my butter. So we'll add about a tablespoon of butter. We're going to pop this in the microwave and you know what we'll do is we'll cut this up just slightly. There we go. That way it'll just help it melt a little easier. We'll pop that in for about a minute. And that is starting to brown. And I love that sound and the smell. It's just so comforting and so nice. So what you want to do is you want to just kind of stir it up, break it up. And let that go ahead and simmer. So while that's going, we can get started on our salmon. So what I have here is I've got about 3 tablespoons of butter. That's still hard. Let's see. And I'm going to take a fork, and I'm just going to mash it up some. So you want this at room temperature. There we go. Oh, something's popping. Oh, it's the butter. There we go. So what you want to do is you want to stir in between. Ooh, smells so good. So you just want to stir it a little bit. And then we'll pop it in there for another few seconds. Uh-oh. Yeah. And we'll stir our beef one more time. Okay, so back to the butter. What you want to do is you want to kind of use the back of your fork and just kind of stir it up. And then we're going to add some salt. And guys, I always buy unsalted butter. That way you can decide how much salt goes into it. Because sometimes if you have a recipe that calls for butter, people are, you know, if they use salted butter, then it may be too salty. So always buy unsalted butter. That way you can decide how much salt goes in. So salt, we're going to add some black pepper. And then we're going to add some fresh chopped dill. I love dill. To me, dill says summer. All right, so about a tablespoon or so. And then we're also going to add the juice of 1 lime. And what I usually do is I stick my fork into the lime, and that way I just twist. It helps release those juices very easily, and it's no mess, no fuss. There we go. And then very carefully, you just want to kind of start to incorporate that. So it's about half a lime. Now you can also use lemon if you want. A lot of time when I do the salmon on my big green egg, what I do is I use lemon juice and then I cut a few slices of lemon and then layer it on top of the salmon on top of the plank. And it just makes all those flavors come together as it cooks. All right. It takes a little bit of work to get all the juice in there, but you'll get it in there. Now, the great thing about this recipe is you can actually, if you have friends coming over, you can go ahead and pre-do your butter. So what you do is you mix your butter up like this, and then you wrap it in some saran wrap into a log. That way when your friends get there, you just slice the little pieces of butter, put it on top of your fish, and it's done and done. Okay, so we've got that. I'm gonna go ahead and start heating my pan to about medium-high. Well, we'll start out at high and then we'll go from there. We're gonna give our beef one more little stir. Just kind of break up those clumps. And we're also gonna add our onions. And, here we go. Our onions. And then at this time, we're gonna go ahead and add some great seasonings. Where is my paper towel? So I've got about 3 tablespoons of chili, and I have about a teaspoon of cumin, and then a teaspoon of red pepper flakes. It's so hard to say, it's such a tongue twister. And you can add more chili if you want, or less. If you are a little weary of spicy food, a great substitute for the chili is just plain smoked paprika. So our chili, and our cumin and red pepper flakes, and then you're just going to give that another stir. Just kind of break up your beef. And I smell it, it's delicious. Okay, so once your beef is nice and cooked, we're going to go ahead and add our tomatoes and our corn and the beans. You can add the whole can if you want, it just doesn't matter, and the kidney beans. And then we're just going to give that a nice little stir and let all of those juices sink in there and cook. And there we go. And I'm going to turn my eye down to about medium at this point. Okay, back to the salmon. Which recipe are we working on now? Okay, so for your salmon, what you want, like I said, we've been preheating this one. we're gonna add some olive oil, but just a little bit. What I do when I do this recipe, like I said, on the grill, is I start rubbing the butter on top of the salmon. You can do that, but what I usually do is I just salt and pepper. And since it's going to be done in the pan, you'll get all those flavors incorporated as well. So I'm just going to lightly salt my salmon. And we're going to put it face down. And this one again, lightly salt, face down. And there's no room for the other one, so we'll have to wait. So once you have your salmon in the pan, what I usually love to do is take my butter, and then you're gonna pop it on top of there. Just kind of sprinkle it around a little bit, it'll melt. And then I also like to drop a little bit of that same butter into my pan. There we go. That way all those juices gets incorporated. More butter. You can't go wrong with more butter. I know, I'm so bad. So let's check on our cheese while that's going. Okay, so the cheese is nice and kind of sort of melted. You don't want, it doesn't have to be runny because we're gonna include it or incorporate it completely into the ground beef that's gonna be really hot, so it's gonna help melt that when we do. All right, so let's check on our salmon. Beautiful. So what I love to do at this point is take a spoon, and you want to start spooning some of this butter on top of the salmon. Some of the melted butter, and it's going to help the other butter melt as well. There we go. Just like that. Okay, so we've got that. Now we're gonna include our cheeses. I've got about 2 cups of white cheddar cheese. I hope all of this fits in the bowl. And I've got about 1.5 cups of Monterey Jack cheese. You can also use pepper jack. And if you're not a fan of spicy, once again, you can just use plain old cheddar or mozzarella is good. And you just want to kind of lightly start to incorporate all those cheeses in there. There we go. And let's check on the salmon. Beautiful. I just want to bring that this way so that you guys can see. It's absolutely gorgeous looking. So then I'm going to just take my spatula and very lightly, very gently, if at all possible, flip my salmon upside down. So basically the top part is showing. And then we're going to do exactly the same thing with that. Pop it on there for a few more minutes, with more butter. You could either pop it in the pan or you could pop a few pieces on top that's going to melt on there as well. And like I said, what you want to do is take that spoon and then just spoon the butter, tilt your pan, spoon that butter onto your salmon. Just so you guys can see a little better. Just spoon that deliciousness over that. And we're gonna let that go for a few more minutes. So let's stir our chili. Beautiful. It smells delicious. Now, if you're like me and you like spicy, go ahead and add a pinch of cayenne pepper as well. And there we go. So while that's going the rest of the way, we're gonna go ahead and slice a few pieces of avocado for our sliders. Let me just clean this up and get that out of the way. Okay, so I usually just take my knife, and be careful when you do this at home. Just run it up along, twist off your pieces. And then this is the easy way to get that little seed out. Just jam your knife into it and then twist, and it comes right off. There we go. So what I usually do when I do my sliders is I take a paring knife then and just run it up along and get the skins removed. Now, once you have that part, it's easy to just peel this part back. And if it doesn't want to peel, just slice it off. And we're going to sit that right there. And we're going to do the same here. And let me just turn my oven off. My stovetop off. There we go. Because this salmon is beautiful looking. If you just touch it lightly and it's nice and flaky, that's when it's perfect. Okay. And we're going to peel this back. And we're going to peel this one back, and we'll just set it there. So once I have this, it's very easy to go in with a knife and just cut your little pieces for the top of the sliders. Look how easy. That way it's done and done, and you don't have to worry about this. Now, if you are going to pre-cut your avocado before your guests get there, just sprinkle it with some lime juice. That way it will keep nice and fresh. So we have that. Now we're also going to slice some tomatoes. A couple of tomatoes. And we'll get that right there. Okay. So for the assembly of this, we'll need some buns. Now, I love to use these little Martin potato rolls because they're tiny little pieces of bread that's just the perfect amount of bite. And this is what I love to do. I like to take about 6 at a time. If you're going to do more sliders than that, then go ahead and take the whole first part of it. Let me just move this out of the way. Here we go. But I love to take it like this and then get your serrated knife. Oh, hold on, let me first stir this. This is looking fabulous. Okay, and we're going to turn that down to about low. There we go. Okay, so get yourself a serrated knife and then slice them up along the entire bun area. Then you remove this part, and usually it stays pretty much together, but if not, then just take it off to the side. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some sour cream, and you can also use Greek yogurt if you would like. Then we're going to add some salt and some pepper. And then let's move this out of the way for a second. Some more cut dill. And if you want, you can also include some cucumber. It's very nice and summery. We're just going to give that a quick little stir. Okay, so we're going to take our sour cream and just spread it on top of our slider. Like I said, you can also use Greek yogurt. And if you're not a fan of either, then just use some good old mayonnaise. There we go. And then we're going to grab some bib lettuce. And the reason I love to use my bib lettuce is it's so nice and buttery, and it's so delicate, so it's perfect to go with the salmon. So we'll just go ahead and pop that on there. Uh-oh, if I can get it. I love how they stay together. It's just so cute. And I usually keep it like that. That way it stays nice and fresh in your refrigerator. Okay. Then we're going to grab our salmon. I mean, look how delicious. It's just fabulous. And then we're going to take that and pop it onto our slider. Let's see if I want to do it this way. And then I usually just kind of measure to see how big that part is. And I'll just cut my salmon and just do it that way as well. Perfect. So then once you have that, if you want, you can add more of the sour cream. I still have a couple of pieces here. We'll just do a nice little dollop here and there. And Then you're going to layer it with your tomatoes. Uh-oh, that's the bottom part. There we go. About a tomato per slider. You just kind of guess it. And then we're going to take our avocado and just kind of layer that as well. And you're probably thinking now, Linkie, how is this whole thing going to stay together? But I'll show you. It's not that difficult. Some avocado right there. And this is where this comes in perfectly. So then you take your buns and you just layer them right on top of that. And then what I usually do is I take either long toothpicks or these nice little bamboo skewers. I pop them in there, make sure all your ingredients are put. What this does is it keeps everything together. That way, you can just slice, take a serrated knife, that way it's a little easier. You can just slice your little portions. And your whole slider stays together. And this way, you don't have to worry about assembling a dozen sliders. Hold on, let me first taste it. It's delicious. That way you assemble all of them at the same time, and it's less work. And look how stunningly beautiful. If this is not perfect, I don't know what is. I mean, this is just gorgeous. Okay, so once you have your sliders, let's go ahead, let's go ahead and get our cheese dip ready to rock and roll. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a bowl, and let me move this out of the way. I have stuff everywhere. All right, so you're gonna take your bowl. If you have a big enough cast iron skillet, or if you're cutting this recipe in half, or if you have a big bowl that you're making it in, a pot in the oven, you can just add your cheese straight to that. But I don't. My cast iron skillet is not that big, so I'm just gonna dump it in here, toss it in with the cheese, that way I don't make a mess. Now guys, you know me, I love my pit mitts. These things are great because I can just grab the very hot skillet and just bring it over. And we're gonna spoon all of this delicious goodness into the bowl. Oh, it smells delicious. I always scrape the bottom part as well, because that's where all that nice caramelization is. Pop that back in there, and then while this is still hot, let me just turn my oven off. While this is still hot, you want to go ahead and add your cheese. Every single ounce of it. And then you just stir, stir, stir. And then what I usually do to keep it nice and warm is I'll pop it back into the cast iron skillet if needed. And then we're gonna top it with more cheese. And then you just pop it under the broil for just a few minutes. Stir, stir, stir. You wanna make sure all that cream cheese and everything gets in there melted perfectly. If you want this more cheesy, add more cheese. There we go. And oof, I can't wait to dig into this. And like I said, if you want, pop it back into the cast iron skillet, sprinkle it with more cheese, pop it in under your broiler for just a few minutes until the cheese is melted. If not, what you do is you grab your bowl of chips. Now, I love to use these veggie chips because I almost feel like I'm getting a little bit of veggie in there. And I always have to be sneaky when I want my husband to eat veggies. So even though it's not really like as good as chewing down a cucumber, it still is healthy. So you just take your chip and dip and and now I'm ready to go watch the baseball game. Guys, I have lots of recipes on my website. These recipes may appear there soon, so just go and look. It's livinglinkie.com. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. All of those, I always post recipes and fun things. Keep up with me there. Until next time, see you soon.